Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be continuing into the quantitative risk analysis, and this will be our part 2 of this quantitative analysis. So our topic for discussion today is decision tree analysis with expected monetary value. This should be EMV. Now, let's say, for example, we are unable to decide between two contractors. So, which vendor to select? This is the decision dilemma. Now we have two competing vendors who are offering, let's say, same type of quality, or they are delivering the same type of work. However, let's say vendor A and vendor B, there's a slight difference in terms of how much they are charging. So if I go with vendor A, I have to pay them $100,000, but if I go with vendor B, I end up paying $120,000. Now, why vendor B is charging higher? Probably because of their reputation, on-time deliveries, market feedback. So, various such factors leads to vendor B charging slightly higher. Now, if I go with vendor A, I know that there's a possibility of work getting delayed, and I'm keeping that to, let's say, 50%. So, late delivery, there's a 50% probability that the vendor A can deliver late because we haven't worked with them in the past. And of course, the second outcome is that they deliver on time, which again has a possibility of 50%. However, the scenario changes with vendor B. Late delivery chances are very less, let's say just 10%. On time delivery, very high, probability of 90%. Now, if they deliver on time, we don't have anything to worry about, as in there is no negative impact that we need to factor in. So I'll just put 0 here and 0 here. However, if the vendor ends up delivering late, then we possibly could be looking at, say, for example, $70,000 worth of losses in both the cases. Now we have to decide which vendor to go with. So let's do a quick calculation for this vendor decision versus the other vendor. So now, if I go with vendor A, I end up paying $100,000 to them. That's why the negative sign. Plus the decision, not the decision, but the risk that if they deliver late, which we are saying there's a 50% probability, and if they deliver late, we end up losing $70,000. So we are using expected monetary value here. We are multiplying the probability and the impact of this event, right? And if they deliver on time, which again we are saying there's a probability of 50%, and the impact of that is 0. So let's solve this. Minus 100k paid upfront to the vendor for the work. This comes out as negative 35k, plus this comes out as 0, which means the total cost of selecting vendor A stands at $135,000 negative, something out of our pocket. Similarly, let's go with vendor B and see how it turns out. So we end up paying 120k to this vendor, plus there is a 10% possibility of delivering late, which leads to an impact of negative 70,000, plus there's a 90% probability of delivering on time with an impact of 0. So basically, if we solve this out, it comes out as minus 7k plus 0, which is equal to minus 127k. Now, what we can summarize from this discussion is that selecting vendor B seems to be more appropriate decision, because the cost of this decision is less than selecting vendor A. And in this case, because we are talking about money out of our pocket, how much we end up paying, we of course will go with the lower value, which is 127 in this case. We don't want to pay 135. Instead, we'll be rather happy to pay lesser or 127. Just a quick recap here. So what we basically did was we just took the probability and multiplied with the impact. Probability multiplied with the impact, and then we summed all the values of this decision tree. So we end up paying 100k minus 35k plus 0. Same thing we did here. Probability multiplied by impact, probability multiplied by impact, and then we just add up all the values for each node, and that helps us to decide which decision is better. Now, of course, if these were earnings, if this was not the money going out of your pocket, but if it was the money coming in your pocket, if these were earnings, then of course higher the value, the better it is, because we want to go with a decision where we end up earning more money. So as a thumb rule, we can say higher the value, the better it is. And in negative values, I'm sure you understand that -1 is bigger than -2. So in that sense also, minus 127 is a bigger value than minus 135. So we can say that we always go with the higher mathematical value of the multiple decisions. The other thing that we can add here is, let's see, this was a very simple example given to make you understand the concept of decision trees. However, I can further complicate it by adding more branches. Say, for example, I can say if they deliver late, then do they deliver late by 1 month, or they might deliver late by 2 months, or they might deliver late by 3 months. And then each one has a different impact associated with it. And then we do the same calculation and then derive the overall value of late delivery impact. So it can get more complicated, but this is the gist of it. And like I said in the last video also, that we don't have to go in the depth of these techniques, but we just have to make sure that we understand how they are being used and what exactly is the outcome that we are getting from them. So I hope decision tree analysis was clear. Once again, if you have any questions associated with this topic, please put them in the comment section. I'll be happy to revert back on them. There will be a part 3 as well for this quantitative analysis, because we still have Monte Carlo and sensitivity as well as tornado analysis left to discuss. which we will take up in our upcoming videos. Thank you for watching. As always, take care and we'll see you soon.